Okay, welcome back, guys, to the World Championship Series at Europe Premier League, as we now move into our second series of the day between HasuObs and Snute.
And this one could prove to be a long one as well. HasuObs has been known throughout the time in StarCraft 2 as he is one of the oldest StarCraft 2 players we've had. He actually competed in the very first StarCraft 2 tournament there ever was at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne 2010. But throughout that time, he's been known for his long, drawn-out games. And he kind of sticks true to that today. Likes to secure the win rather than rush it out. But we've got Snute here, who, against Protoss, has also been, over the last couple of months, trying to perfect his Swarm host games. So that's a lot of Spore Crawlers. It's a lot of static D and Spines and Spores. It's a lot of Vipers. It's a lot of Corruptors. And most importantly, it's a lot of Swarm hosts.
And it's a lot of not moving.
Yes, he's there up there.
We've seen how things can go for some people who don't like to move, but then move. And then now coming into this, we could see some more not moving, which is a terrible use of English, and I'm butchering it, so I'm sorry, but it's very relevant when it comes to this style.
Yeah, I definitely feel that that's probably what we'll see from Snute today, but I wonder what HasuObs has been preparing, because for the Intel Extreme Masters in Cologne just a couple of weeks back, he spent a lot of time with Monchi and Soke just preparing himself ready for the Intel Extreme Masters, and we saw him perform very well. If he's had that same performance and practice ready for today's group, then I would not be surprised that he came up with something special for playing Snute today. And of course, against Firecake, who both of them share a very similar style when approaching versus Protoss. So what has HasuObs got to show today?
Let's find out, as we do have that man spotting up to the top right-hand corner as our blue Protoss. It is mousesports HasuObs. And up to the top left, we have our red Zerg representing Team Liquid. It's Snute.
All right. I was trying to look what maps they... Wait, I can still look.
Nice.
It's all in PM.
Well, I think one thing that you mentioned earlier about HasuObs is very, very relevant, is that he has stayed relevant through the entirety of StarCraft 2. And that is quite a feat in itself, in terms of him performing at the very first tournament. And he hasn't quite hit that international big impact that he would like.
No.
But in terms of the German scene especially, he has always been there and always been around.
He's a veteran in the German scene. He's one of the biggest winners from StarCraft 2 in the German scene. But I think his highest finish was at the semi-final at the Intel Extreme Masters in China a couple of years ago. I think is HasuObs' biggest and largest ever finish. But he traveled to a couple of MLGs during his time, but never did super well over there. And he's traveled and done a couple of Intel Extreme Masters in Singapore and of course in Germany as well, but never done too big. His main focus has really always been in Germany, right? To really play on ladder, compete in the EPS, and kind of go that way. But as of recent, with the World Championship Series now, he played in the Premier League 3 times last season with the round of 32 finish in Season 1, which he was disappointed in. A top 8 finish in Season 2, which was a very, very good performance.
Yeah.
And then, of course, dropped down again to the round of 32 in Season 3. But here we are in 2014, and we'll see how well he can do today. Will it be like a Season 2 performance or like the others for him?
But let us not forget where that round of 8 performance came from HasuObs, and that was off the back of defeating somebody who just played recently. I can't quite... yes, MVP. So...
Yep.
Very, very impressive results from him during that period of time. Can he continue with that, though?
So in these positions that they've spawned, I know Snute likes to play Swarm Host in these positions. Swarm Host on Frost aren't the best anyway, because it's hard to play that kind of struggling style to keep your opponent and suffocate him from bases and try to take your own set of bases, because this map in cross position is there's much more freedom for the Protoss player. But in these positions, Snute can take 4 bases to the top left of his map, to his corner, and then can just rally through the middle of the map with the Swarm Host and play that kind of style. We could see that come from him.
As you can probably tell just before, HasuObs was trying to find that Overlord on either side, but his timing was slightly off to actually spot that, and thus does not know where his opponent spawned. So he's going to move to the middle with this Zealot and try and find out. But one thing's for sure, though. I mean, coming off into this expansion play here from HasuObs, I was very surprised he opened actually up with Gateway.
Yeah.
I was expecting Forge from HasuObs, but there you go. Gateway's on the way, and this can open up a lot of aggressive possibilities here for Hasu.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. He now knows where his opponent's spawned. He sees the Overlord inside his main base, and then we'll also check with the Zealot on the other side too. HasuObs, I think the last time against TLO, I'm pretty sure he played like a Stargate. He played like a normal game. It was just like Stargate and Colossus. He has thrown down the Forge, though, quite fast in this game, which would suggest that he'd be looking towards +1 attack. And more so, as of recently, with the way that the matchup plays out, is a fast third base. You don't really see too much aggression, but now saying that, there's a robotics facility thrown down. So with a +1 attack being started quite early and the robotics facility in these positions, which aren't that far away, a quick travel from his natural to the Xelnoga Tower to Snute, an immortal push.
Yeah. And it's very clear that what we've seen here from HasuObs has been diligently prepared. He's trying to deny the scout on that robo facility, and indeed he will do. Yeah. But the positioning of the robo facility is very prepared. That pylon at the very beginning, I was surprised by that positioning because I was like, well, you know, why is there of all positions? Of course, to wall off between these bases to make it harder for Zerglings to wiggle on through if he was to wall it off. And in the end, this is interesting to see from HasuObs.
So if we're going to see this immortal push come out from HasuObs, which is pretty much lining up to be, what are we going to see from Snute, and how well does he prepare? Because remember, in these positions now, with losing that initial Overlord, what does he have and how does he scout? He has to throw down Spore Crawlers because he doesn't really know what's going on here. He's only got that one Overlord to the bottom right, 3 Spore Crawlers, 12 Lings in case there's any gateway attack. He's completely in the blind. So he's kind of having to prepare for everything, which is a little bit, you know, difficult to do as a Zerg player, to prepare for everything. You need to know specifically what's going on, and unfortunately, it's going to be hard for him.
One thing's for sure is that with those Zerglings that did pop on forwards, he did see the later addition of a Forge, so he does have to be very, very mindful about how that's going to be used, right? Yeah. So leaving a Ling on third bases or just poking on forwards now and seeing what's going on. And he will actually do that, but he hasn't really seen much more than the +1 weapons on the way, which can lead to these immortal pushes.
Yep, well, it's going to be that. It's going to be quite a fast one, too. As you can see, I think it's just going to be 2 immortals and then just go. It's going to be quite Zealot-focused. He's mining from 2 gases. And the Overlord from Snute, still nowhere. Nowhere. Snute is down at 42 drones and still adding on additional units here. But one thing that will be going through Snute's mind, where are the units? Why haven't I seen a Phoenix yet in this game? Which is probably why his drone count's pretty low at 42, and the Roach production begins. Creep spread's okay outside of his third.
He's looking for a hidden base or something like that as well down to this bottom left-hand corner. He's like, what is going on?
No idea, and you see this very, very last minute here.
Yeah. And he's not even controlling the watchtower. Well, okay, now he spots some movement out here.
But he did start unit production very, very early on.
Yeah, he's got a lot of Lings on the way, as well as those Roaches that have already popped.
Yep, here we go.
All right, well, how well is this going to work out for HasuObs? The interesting thing about this push is there's not a single sentry with it.
Yeah, it's Zealot heavy, which is very good against the very mass Ling that we're seeing come out from
So he's looking for brute
Snute.
force, absolute brute force to try and overwhelm against this. Time Warp goes down to try and slow down those units from getting to those Immortals.
Core.
Oh, it's so close. He actually loses one of the Immortals super fast there. These Zerglings and Roaches are going to overwhelm, I think, in the end.
Yeah, he lost the Mothership Core really early on, and also the Immortal really early on. Not the best of pushes to start with.
He does kill off that Spore Crawler, so the Warp Prism has a little bit more room to maneuver around, but the Queens are always going to try and focus down on that if it moves forward as well. And this is going to be hard to make work. The Zerglings find their way to the Immortal again. A good pickup will keep that alive, as well as those Stalkers now being worked on, but he picks up a few more once again. Needs to pick up the... Oh, no, he's got plenty of Zealots helping out.
If he had that second Immortal still...
Yeah, that would be a very, very big deal. These Roaches wouldn't be lasting for much longer. He's almost catches it. No, he doesn't in the end.
Snute's going to hold.
Yeah, he just has... Look, I mean, look at the reinforcements that are on the way. This is just so much. Almost catches that Immortal again, but look how low it is. It absolutely can't take another hit from anything.
Until those shields regenerate.
Yeah.
And he lost the Mothership Core as well, had another Time Warp available, would have been doing extra damage itself. And unfortunately, this just wasn't executed. The fight itself wasn't executed perfectly here from HasuObs. And he's going to have to fall back from this point. He starts pro production again. And I assume that he'll just take his gases from this point. A lot of Protoss players do just quit and leave the game, but he's going to rebuild the Mothership Core. He's going to add on his gases. From this point, Snute, I imagine, can either just go and start to break down the front wall. There's hardly any defense set up from this point. Or you can start droning again and take your own gases, start to tech up, and go Hydralisk, Evolution Chamber.
And if you're going to play a style like this without any sentries, you absolutely have to be so mindful of your unit's positioning when going into that fight. That first Immortal dying off that quickly, you know, without any sentries, no force fields to be able to hold that off. He's looking for alternate routes with this Warp Prism to try and play this out. But with Snute now just transitioning onto the Hydralisk 10 and losing 0 drones during all of that as well, his economy is gonna flourish.
I'm really sure if we were to ask Snute, did you expect to have like an Immortal push in these positions? I think he would say yes. Because of the close positions like this, because of seeing so few and so much lack of information, he probably just put it together. It was 42 drones. It's very low. That's a lot of units out there really early on, and I think he just anticipated it. I remember seeing even a tweet from him saying, oh, close positions on Frost. It's either going to be Swarm Host or Immortal and I'm going to play. So he knows how to play this, and he played it out well.
And bizarrely, this wasn't even walled off fully at the front here for HasuObs. So a little bit of an odd opener for him there as it goes GG, and Snute takes game number 1.
But if this wasn't an Immortal push or a 2-base play, and imagine if the Phoenixes were kept together back at home and then they exploded out there, or 4 of them, and it was actually a normal game, being so low on drones would have actually hurt Snute. So he guessed, he gambled a little bit, but it paid off.
Yeah, that was pretty well done there by Snute to read into what was going to occur in game number 1. And now, I'm not sure what map we're going to go on to.
Do not know. They did the vetoes privately, so they weren't in the chat because, of course, there's other players of their racing there, and HasuObs wants to keep them away from, you know, maybe going up against Firecake.
But whilst we have Ultrazine Stronghold of all maps, whilst we have, normally HasuObs does sometimes mix in these aggressive maneuvers. It's really his longer game that really shines out and really stands out. So whenever you see these more earlier attacks happen from HasuObs, they're not quite as crisp as his defensive stature would normally show. So I mean, it's Ultrazine Stronghold, so we probably will see a longer game from him, but I would love to see that more so.
Yeah. Well, you've been playing a lot recently.
Yeah.
Playing Protoss. When you come up against Zerg players on Altazim, what do you do?
Well, I just open up Stargate, really.
Yeah,
I do love
Stargate.
Yeah, just a normal standard game, open up Stargate and just keep macroing from there. And then if they do make Swarm Hosts, I have a field day just running around the map in circles and then recalling all the time.
Yeah, I think this is a difficult map for Zerg players to play against Protoss here.
Yeah.
You can't really punish too much greed coming out from the Protoss player. It's such a large map that you can't punish because it takes too long to kind of get there to stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
And as you said, the longer the game gets on, they're easier for the Warp Prism play and pylons around the map to pop up, and it's difficult to defend.
Especially if you set up those pylons like really early on. Of course, you know, a very diligent Zerg can spot them with Zergling scouts, and maybe if an Overlord gets lucky and spots it, etc. But the earlier you set them up, the more of an annoyance it's going to be eventually for that Zerg who tries to clean up everything on either side. Anyway, spawning down at the bottom right-hand corner, currently 1 game down here in our second series of the day for Group G. It is Mao's HasuObs. And over to the bottom left, we have our red Zerg representing Team Liquid. Currently 1 game up. It's Liquid Snute.
Been watching quite a bit of Snute stream recently.
Yeah?
Yeah, I quite like watching his games. He's played some very good games, actually. Some very long runs, made some really good comebacks. And overall just had quite a lot of fun watching it. And especially because I was trying to learn a little bit more about the Swarm Host playstyle too, so it was obviously good to see.
From what I recall, you don't play the Swarm Host style too much, right?
I changed.
You changed?
Yeah.
So,
I don't play a lot of Zerg though recently. I did use Swarm Host for quite a bit against Terran and Protoss.
Yeah?
I'm only playing Terran right now.
Right.
Myself.
Okay. Well, now we'll see what Snute wants to bring to the table. I mean, he could happily just bring some Roach Hydra play and try and pressure the third. This third is quite open in terms of if you hit from multiple sides.
Yeah.
So you can try and do that against normally a very greedy Protoss in HasuObs. He will try and go for a very quick third sometimes.
Well, he's going for a very fast Nexus here.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see the greediest of greediest builds from him, which would be Nexus first and then Gateway to start his tech, before adding on, for example, a Forge, which would start his defense faster for a cannon. So if he opens up like that, which is a build he's used a lot as of recently, which is very greedy, and he's done it on smaller maps. So if he's done it on smaller maps, I'm pretty sure he's going to do it here.
Well, and luckily for Snute, he sends his Overlord in the correct direction to start things off. So you'll see this wall nice and early, and then from the the position in terms of how far gone the wall is, he'll know that it's the Nexus first he's playing against. So his spawning pool opening to start things off wasn't necessarily warranted.
No, he hasn't got the best opening here for sure. HasuObs has got pretty much the ideal position that he would like in the earlier game. He's got his greediest build down, and Snute's gone for a spawning pool first compared to a potential 3-hatch opening, which HasuObs could have been expecting to meet up against here. So when that probe enters, I'm sure the gym will have a bit of a grin.
And this probe goes down around a quite strange way there, a little bit of a pathing oddity, but it does get in eventually, and we'll get in here and see that that spawning pool is finished, along with go straight on down to the hatchery as well. Or he's actually just going to accept that this is happening and assume that that hatchery is there, which is fine, because it's 9 times out of 10 there. It would be very strange to see anything else here from Snute, especially seeing only the gas just now. Wait, he didn't see the gas, did he? No.
Did he? No. But you can imagine that wouldn't be too far along in this game.
Of course.
So HasuObs, again, has a position where he can hide his tech quite well. There's only that one overlord to the bottom, which we'd see at least a sentry, potentially even a stalker come out from him soon. And that would hide and keep the overlord away from spotting anything. So he has the option to hide what he wants to do. He could go robotics facility again. It's not unheard of to go for a multi push in these positions. It could be for quite a fast third base. It could be for Stargate. Multiple options to choose from as this Cybernetics core finishes.
Well, those Lings just stood at the front here, having a look around, seeing what's going on. Those Lings, if they saw, for example, any weird chrono boost into the Cybernetics core, would be like, wait a minute, what are you up to? But aside from that, not a whole lot. Maybe you can get a glimpse of the first unit popping out. Unless it was to randomly rally on the other side.
Well, the Stalker should be able to push these away, right? So you'll see that straight away.
And then from there on, we now have speed on the way for Snute. So no big dramatic changes just yet in this game, and see what's going on.
No, Snute's got circling speed and is just droning. That's the only safety precaution he's taken in this game, just in case there was anything. Circling speed is obviously great and fantastic. So the Stalker's out. So now we'll see the tech choice come down, if any, from HasuObs, who is going to throw a Forge. Like mentioned before, with a Forge coming down this early, it can be for a very fast third base.
Yeah.
Get the +1 attack, great for Zealots, great against Zerglings, great against pressure, great to add the cannons on when the Nexus finishes. Overall, pretty good for a third base. And without any tech to support this, which we saw was the robotics facility added on immediately, definitely could be that, but let's not jump to conclusions yet before out really waiting to see what it is.
This is kind of what I'm anticipating from him in terms of the normal go-to of HasuObs, right? But at the same time, we still have to be very mindful. He's probably just going to want to clear out the overlords.
He's going to add a bunch of gateways, I think. Yeah, he's going to go for a big gateway timing.
Wait a minute.
If it's not money saved for a third base, then it's money saved for this.
Wow. Okay, this is not the usual HasuObs we are actually watching. This is a HasuObs who is a little bit wary of Snute late game. And is just trying to completely divert away from that.
Yeah, this is a big gateway. This is a lot of gateways that are coming in. So it's going to be an 8 gateway +1 attack.
If only
Snute just needs to keep eyes on the third, and there's an overlord which is getting towards the back. As soon as this overlord sees no gas on HasuObs is natural, he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
He's already building 22 Lings because this map is so played out. He actually spots the pylon. He knows exactly what's coming.
Yeah, he does.
He sees the pylon wall off, so he's just going to build a bunch of units. And he's down at the same drone count he was previously, but 1, because he didn't build as many spore crawlers.
This is interesting. I really wasn't expecting this from HasuObs, but he's looked like he's going to try and get it, and he's going to get full confirmation once he sees that there is a lack of the gases at the back there. You're right with that. But again, he already knows exactly what he's going to be playing against. Drops another pylon after those units were very, very close
gets
to
the
it.
probe.
Oh, dear me.
Didn't get the closer pylon, though, but...
Okay, that's the one saving grace here, because that's going to be the main go-to for HasuObs.
Time Warp was wasted to stop the Lings there, so this is looking pretty good, you have to say, for a Snute.
Well, Spore Crawler goes down, trying to kind of zone out the Mothership Core, because that's the only reason he can. There's the surround. Very nicely done here by Snute. All the roaches now flood on in. I don't think HasuObs was really anticipating this being as spotted as quickly as it did. And now all Snute needs to do is just reinforce with Lings, and then just shut this down. Yeah,
great creep spread here, helping out Snute take the fight.
Very, very nicely executed here so far by Snute. Very impenetrable indeed, as that Spore Crawler now goes to town a little bit on the Mothership Core as well. Any bit of health it can damage here is fantastic. And there's very few Zealots left. If the Roaches just come in here and focus down Zealots, how are the Lings going to be stopped?
Claris, HasuObs approached this series very aggressively. Snute prepared, and set himself up to play very defensively. And as you can see, the outcome, it's quite one-sided.
GG, congratulations. Snute takes the second series of the day in flying colors. Really, really impressive holds from him. And HasuObs now falls down to play against Firecake.
Yeah, he does. So surprised at the way that HasuObs approached the series, as you said. But whatever the case now, Snute will go up against MVP. Now, MVP, who's practiced a couple of mech builds against Zerg, we're going to see this again. This is, I imagine, for him, much better than playing against a Protoss player.
I mean, one thing's for sure, though, going into this series, that most players are just going to watch the previous series, like a Blue Flame Hellion, something like that from MVP. Snute's going to be, like, sniffing that out like a bloodhound, man. He is going to be looking for these kinds of things very, very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this one.
All right, well, guys, we're going to go to a short break, and then when we're back, we'll have our winners match. It's going to be Incredible Miracles MVP going up against Liquid Snute.